Are there unicorns in the Bible? When my daughter was little, she definitely would have been all about this. It might seem like a strange question to ask, because when most people picture a unicorn, they picture a winged Pegasus with a single horn flying through a rainbow. They imagine a creature of fantasy, not faith. But there actually are some cryptic verses in scripture that have been translated as a unicorn at different points in history. The King James Version specifically does this, along with the Septuagint, which is one of the earliest Greek translations of the Hebrew Old Testament. So what's the deal? Why is it that the earliest translations of the Bible use the word unicorn? Is there some weird creature that used to exist which has been lost to time? And what does the Bible have to say? Let's take a look. So the term unicorn actually appears 9 times throughout the King James Version of the Bible. In Numbers, in Deuteronomy, in the book of Job, in the Psalms, and even Isaiah. For example, we see in Psalm 92:10, "But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil." And in Numbers 23:22, Balaam declares, "God brought them out of Egypt. He hath as it were the strength of a unicorn." And this imagery repeats in other passages as well, describing the unicorn as a strong, untamable, and majestic beast. So these references appear to describe a real creature, something known for its power and its might. But we don't have any record of a single horned creature in the Near Eastern record. So what is it that the biblical authors are referring to? And here's where it gets a little bit weird. So if we look at that verse again, Psalm 92:10, "But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn." And then in the NIV it reads, "You have exalted my horn like that of a wild ox." Okay. Fine. But there are 2 problems with this. First is that yes, the verse changed the animal from a unicorn to an ox, but the word horn is still singular. "You've exalted my horn like that of a wild ox." And also, the Hebrew has words for ox, but none of those are the word that is used here. The original Hebrew word used is re'im. Now keep in mind that ancient Hebrew has very few animals that correspond neatly to modern species. And re'im is sort of an obscure term. And the earliest Jewish interpreters didn't exactly know what this animal meant. So when Jewish scholars translated the Hebrew Bible into Greek around the 3rd century BCE, they used the Greek word monokeros, meaning one-horned. So it literally means a strong, one-horned beast. And then earlier translations of scripture, such as the King James, mistranslated this as unicorn. And most modern translations don't do this. And as to the wild ox that it refers to, many scholars believe this is talking about an animal that's now extinct called the aurochs, which apparently was an ancestor to modern cattle with one big horn. I'll show a picture of it here. I think that guy could pass as a unicorn. So the biblical authors weren't referring to a unicorn as we would know it today. They were using the most formidable animal that they knew at the time as a metaphor, a symbol for divine strength. But keep in mind that many of these writings were written more than 3,000 years ago. A lot can change in the world over that amount of time, even with animals. It's interesting because medieval art and literature often associate the unicorn with purity, sometimes even using it as a symbol for Christ. Pure, untamed. And it resonated with a lot of Christians, even though it stemmed from a mistranslation. But ironically, the imagery has endured in certain older translations. But they likely didn't refer to a mythical creature, but rather a very real animal that no longer exists. Personally, I think it's a fascinating exploration of history and language. But what do you think? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Also, feel free to like and subscribe. That's a free way to help out the channel. It helps the algorithm find my videos. I'll leave the verses used today in the description below. My name is Adam. This is Bargain Bin Theology. And remember, you get what you pay for.